the fourth day of Shvat. The flow, every single Jew, even the sinners of Israel, has a divine spark within.
Wow.
It is only that by a sinner, the spark is concealed and exiled, only surfacing when their faith is challenged. So, by the Poshim, by
He's a sinner. What is faith is challenged? He challenged that he's a sinner.
No. It's complete emunah is challenged. Meaning they tell him now you have to convert or die.
Die. One of the two.
One of the two.
How can you say such as that? To die, he tells him, how can it possible? Huh?
No, how many times they did it to Jews?
Where was that?
They did it throughout.
He's a sinner. He eats straight. But if you tell him to say you're a goy, you're not a Jew, then he'd rather die.
Right.
That's the point.
It just happened with Daniel Pearl, right? And
Yeah.
they wanted him to convert, and he didn't. They killed him. He died in Kiddush Hashem. It wasn't a religious Jew. It was a reporter. He ended up finding himself in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They fought.
You mean talking about the news reporter?
Yeah, they cut his head
Yeah.
off.
He said
My
no.
mother was a Jew. I'm a Jew, and they.
I was born a Jew or die a Jew. That's it.
His father is Judea. Pearl's father is a professor at UCLA. You know, Israeli, but not so from.
United States never took revenge for it. They knew nothing.
They actually had a court case that they put the people in jail, and they appealed it, and the guy that was the mastermind got off on the appeal. They released him about a couple months ago.
Yeah. United States, the Democrats let him out.
No, in Pakistan? Pakistan.
Yeah, but the Democrats didn't.
Well, the whole thing was Guantanamo. Remember they were speaking about Guantanamo for a while?
Yeah, because some of the people that they grabbed, they interrogated them in Guantanamo. Because that was where
Right.
they had it, but they let them go. And then also, what is interesting though about the last COVID package has relief for Pakistan, and they just let him go. Also has relief for Sudan. They just cut a deal with Israel, so it's kind
Wow.
of.
Well, I'll tell you something.
Remember what I told you? Every time the government, you think they're paying for some Jewish
No,
thing, it's like, be careful.
I want to tell you something.
It's a double-edged sword.
It's no wonder. I mean, the world is rotten. Look what's coming into the government. It's ridiculous.
Anyhow, you got the idea of that his spark is concealed because he's a sinner, but it's aroused, it's woken up when you question his emunah.
And even when you tell him to say, I'm not a Jew, that's crossing the line.
Many times, right? Many
He
times you see.
He doesn't understand emunah.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
But many times I've seen Jews that offer them to put on tefillin. They say, "Well, do you think you're a better Jew than me?" Meaning, the moment that you even that, just that, you say, "Oh, just because you're keeping mitzvahs, you think you're a better Jew than me?" I said, "No, I'm not thinking I'm better than you. I'm just offering you to do mitzvah. It's a privilege to do mitzvah. Why don't you jump the wagon?" No, I'm not saying we better than, but over here, you see how the nefesh is like.
The challenge is different.
Yeah, it wakes it up. So the core distinction between holiness, kedusha, and its opposite, klippa, is the former's self-nullification to the divine. Meaning, klippa is always nullified to kedusha, always. Versus the latter, seeking its own independent existence, the innate love is termed hidden because it is covered by the foolishness of the animals like so. Ela shegolus hazeh lebchinas chochma eino lebchina mispashetes mimeno benefesh kulo lachayos. This exile of the faculty of chochma affects only that aspect of it which is diffused throughout the nefesh and animates it, the divine vitality. Being in exile, it is unable to pervade the entire soul, and through it, the entire body. With the feeling of self-nullification before Hashem, characteristic of Chokhmah, thus in the state of exile, it is unable to prevent one from sinning. So since Chokhmah doesn't have fully manifested, therefore it would not stop somebody from sinning. אבל שרש ועיקר שבחינת חוכמה שבנפש אלוקי הוא מייכין. ואין המסלבש בבוסק דקליפה שבלב בכל השמאלי בחינת גולוס ממש. Yet the root and the core of the Chokhmah in the divine soul is in the brain and does not clothe itself in the sackcloth of the klippa in the left part of the heart in a true state of exile, so that it be powerless to prevent one from sinning. It is merely dormant in the case of the wicked, not exercising its full influence within them, not creating within the Jew the spirit of self-nullification before Hashem that is ought to create, as long as their knowledge and understanding are preoccupied with mundane pleasures.
What does the Rebbe mean when he's saying about the gullus, though, the state of exile? Because we're living in gullus, but that's not the gullus he's talking about, because he's talking about the heart's exile.
Right, so there's a personal exile and there's a collective exile.
Yeah.
Personal exile is the moment that someone is involved with physical desires and is immersed in materialistic pursuits. He is in exile. So the chokhmah that is within him, the godly spark that is within him, is covered up with all the stupidity, with all the foolishness and the folly that he is involved with. And so his godly spark is in exile, is not feeling comfortable. And that's why Gashmius never satisfies people to the fullest. They get satisfied and they want something else, and they want something else, because the neshama needs food as well, not only the guf.
Is he saying, though, that the personal exile is that of a Beinoni or that of the sinner?
Primarily the sinner.
Okay.
So, because the Beinoni, since he's involved with Torah mitzvahs, by the way, the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya that every Jew, when he is involved with Torah mitzvahs davening, at that moment his neshama is freed from exile. So right now, neshamas are free. They are going back to the source and being revitalized and
Make sure you pick up the same neshama, don't take someone else's. Okay.
might have been better one. Why not?
No.
It might be better, but it might also.
No.
So it says the soul.
You're used to it.
The soul faculties of knowledge, das, and understanding. So das and bina, knowledge and understanding, are lower than chokhmah. But we say chokhmah, bina, das. But yet the level of chokhmah is prevented from acting upon them, prevented from influencing chokhmah and bina, and upon the other still lower faculties, as long as they are immersed in mundane pleasures. So the way to stop chokhmah from fully from its full potential, from expressing its full potential, is being involved with physical desires. That's what stops it. If you want your bina and da'at to be saturated with chokhmah, with the source, with wisdom, you cannot be involved with physical things. If that's your chayus, if that's your excitement, what does it mean not to be involved? We have to live, we have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to do these things. But when we say not to be involved, is that's in Yiddish they say, well, that's where the koch. Where is your koch? If you tell me where's your excitement, joy in life, that's where you are really at. If you walk out of this shul right now, and I see you with a massive smile, meeting a friend, that's your chayus. Your friend is the guy that wakes you up. That's where your joy is. If I see you at a restaurant, or you're all over the place, that's where your chayus is. You see? So the more we're involved with the physical things, the less we are allowing chokhmah to express itself. That's what he's telling us. The chokhmah of their divine soul is dormant, not dead, dormant. It has lost none of its potency, only its ability to exercise it, which is amazing concept. the power of Chokhmah remains the same power. It just loses its ability to exercise. It's same power. It never lost its power. That means that the guy that is the wickedest, none of such a word, the wickedest, the most unworthy, his Chokhmah has full potential just like any other person. It just prevented from exercising itself. Only its ability to exercise it, so just as when one sleeps, he retains full possession of his faculties, though he cannot use them. When you sleep, you have Chokhmah, you have Bina, you have Dat, you're just not using it. You know the Rosh Tevis of Elul? They say in Yiddish, Unlechaim, Ve'lechaim. Oh? So Zog Lechaim. Ach שבו דניסון דבר אמונו שלמעלה מהדעת ונוגע לנפש חוכמה שבו. However, when they, the wicked, are confronted with test of faith, which transcends knowledge, touching the very soul and the faculty of Chokhmah within it, the source of faith, because we learned previously there are two levels within Chokhmah. There's the level of Chokhmah that is associated with Bina, which associates itself with logic, knowledge, and there's a level of Chokhmah that precedes knowledge, precedes wisdom and logic and understanding. So that level of Chokhmah is associated with Emunah. Emunah is above, because when you say understanding, I mean I know it, I understand, I figure it out. Emunah is something that I don't understand. If I understand it, I don't need Emunah for it. You don't need to believe that I'm here because you see me. If I tell you that I was here yesterday, you need to believe me because you weren't here yesterday to see if I was here or not. So Emunah is something that's above knowledge. And Chokhmah itself has a faculty in it that is associated to something that is above Chokhmah. That is part of Chokhmah. Chokhmah is divided into two. The low part of Chokhmah is the part that relates itself to Bina and Das, to understanding and knowledge, and the higher part of Chokhmah is the part that relates itself to the Ein Sof, to the infinite level of Hashem. So over here it tells us that part wakes up when someone is being tested. That level of Chokhmah is aroused when someone is tested with faith.
So I read that type of Chokhmah is symbolized by the Yud in the Yud Ke B'Vav Ke. Why? Because when you make a Yud, you make one point, and that point springs from the nothingness. There's nothing else that precedes the Yud.
Correct.
This is a mashal for this level.
Right. Yud is the Tzimtzum, is the dot, Hey is the expansion, and Vav is the drawdown, and Hey is another expansion. In general, it says in Tanya they're divided into two, the Yud Hey and the Vav Hey. Different level of tshuva. Every tshuva restores the Hey back to its source. So the Hey, the lower level tshuva restores the Hey with the Vav, creates a union between Hey and Vav. That's why we say in the Baruch Shomar, L'Shem Yichud Kutshu Brichu Shchinte, creating a union between the two, between the Hey and the Vav, and ultimately the higher union is between the Hey and the Yud, between the expansion and between Chokhmah and Bina.
Right.
So, Azayin Eir Mishnosu Peres Pulosu Bekeya Chavayim Lubashva. Then it arises from its sleep. Chokhmah reveals itself and it exerts its influence with the divine force that is closed in it. Its influence being to create a spirit of self-sacrifice for Hashem, as the Alter Rebbe state further. What does it say? In Tehillim, Hashem awakened as one out of sleep. This pasuk refers also to the level of Chokhmah, and the light of the Ein Sof closed therein, which was previously in a state of sleep, inactive, but arises and exerts its influence when faced with a test of faith. So Vayikatz Kiyoshin Avaya, that referring to Hashem and to Chokhmah. Lamed ben Nisoyin b'munas Havaya b'li shum tam v'das zecha musagloi. Revelation of Chokhmah leads even the sinner to withstand the test of faith in Hashem without any reasoning or knowledge that he can comprehend, which would motivate him to sacrifice his life. Lisgaber ala klippus esai v'soilum azebetu v'isur shurgal boim v'limus boim, and to prevail over the klippus and over his desires toward worldly matters, both permitted and forbidden, which he was accustomed to indulge and even to despise them. In this state of readiness for martyrdom, the sinner not only overcomes his desires for worldly pleasures, but loses them entirely. Unbelievable. He loses them entirely. And the objects of his past desires are now detestable to him. They have no taste, he has no cheshek, he has no passion for them. He hates them, yeah. That's amazing. That's the level of a tzaddik, that he hates evil. And to choose God as his portion and his lot. So that he is prepared to offer his soul to Hashem in martyrdom for the sanctification of his name. Although the klippus prevailed over him, over his sinner, who is now prepared to accept martyrdom all his life, and he was impotent against them. He has no power against them. As the rabbis have said, that the wicked are under the control of their heart, which the animal soul of the klippa is situated in the left part of the heart. Nevertheless, when he faces a test challenging his faith in the one God, a faith whose foundation is in the level of the divine soul, called the heights of holiness, namely the faculty of Chokhmah, which is called Kodesh, the source of holiness, as previously explained, in which is closed the light, of Ein Sof, blessed be He, then all klippas become nullified, and they vanish as though there had never been in the presence of Hashem. כדכתיב כל הגויים קין נגדו, יכסיב כי הנה אויביך הוויה, כי הנה אויביך יבדו יספודו, יכסיב כהמס דוינג מפני שיבדו, יכסיב הורים כדוינג נומסו. So it is written, all the nations, including also klippas, are as nothing before him. And for all your enemies, O Hashem, referring also to the klippas, which are the enemies of Hashem, all your enemies will perish, they will be scattered. And again, as wax melts before fire, so shall the wicked perish. And the hills, referring to the klippas, which are compared to hills by reason of their hoarder, melted, because of their haughtiness, their arrogancy, they will melt like wax. The hills melted like wax. So all these psukim illustrate how the klippas vanish when the light of Hashem, found in the chokhmah of the divine soul, reveal itself. Therefore, despite the fact that the klippas always had the upper hand over a sinner, he is able to overcome them when his faith is challenged. We see that every Jew has an inherent ability to overcome temptation by virtue of his soul's hidden love of Hashem, originating in its faculty of chokhmah. He need merely arouse it. The Alter Rebbe now goes on to explain how this hidden love also comprises the fear of God necessary in observing the prohibitive commandments. The force of the divine light of the Ein Sof that is closed in the soul's faculty of Chokhmah is so intense, as to banish and repel the sitra achra and the klippas, so that they are unable to touch even its garments. What does that mean, its garments? Namely, the thought, speech, and action, that's garment. That express one's faith in the unity of Hashem. That is, not only can the klippas not awaken one's faith, not weaken one's faith, but they cannot even prevent his faith from expressing itself in thought, speech, and action. דהיינו למד בניסיון למסור נפשו אפילו שלא ילעס רק איזה מעשה לבד נגד אמונה סבאיכות כגון להשתחווה לעבוד הזרע אף שאינו מאמין בו כלל בליבו. Why not to bow? Somebody tell you to bow to an idol. Bow to idol, just fake it. You don't believe in it. Just because the guy wants to kill you, so you do it. It's just he leaves you alone. What's that? Why do we still not do it? This means that the divine light vested in Chokhmah enables them to withstand a test of self-sacrifice to the extent of even refusing to do a mere empty act. Is refusing to do empty act that is contrary to his belief in the one God. For example, to bow down before an idol, even without acknowledging it in his heart at all, in which case it is not his faith that is being challenged, but its expression in the act of prostrating oneself. And even for his expression of faith, a Jew will give his life. For expression of faith, a Jew will give his life. So too he will sacrifice his life so as not to speak falsely, God forbid, concerning the unity of God, even where his words do not reflect his true feelings. For his heart is perfect in its belief in Hashem. This readiness for self-sacrifice is not an expression of one's love of Hashem, which reveals itself when confronted with a test of faith. For his love is not directly affected by such empty actions or words. He knows it's not going to affect the love to Hashem. Rather, it expresses the fear contained in the hidden love, the fear of being torn away from Hashem. That's why he's not willing to express himself even in a way that might be sounded like he's not believing in Hashem. Because he's afraid to be torn away from Hashem. This is called the fear contained in love. We know that there's within Ava there's Yira, and within Yira you have Ava. I give the easiest example is you love somebody so much that you're afraid to lose them. So within the Ava there is also fear. Right? Because of loving him creates an anxiety now that you love. He's so precious in your life, like your children. So people are why they're so anxious with their kids. I love him so much, I'm afraid to God forbid something will happen to them. So Ava has Yira in it, and Yira has Ava in it as well. So it says this is called the fear contained in love, meaning the natural love found in the divine soul of all Jews, whose intrinsic desire and will is to be attached to its origin. And so what does Ava want? Ava wants to be one with Hashem. Your Ava, the Ava that is embedded, that is innate within you, wants to express itself. How? That it becomes one with Hashem. So what are you afraid? You're afraid of being torn away from Hashem. God forbid, to be detached from Hashem. Because of this Ava, he is now afraid. He's not even touching the edge of Avodah Zarah. For by virtue of this love and this desire, it instinctively recoils in fear and dread from touching, God forbid, even the fringe of the impurity of idolatry, which denies the faith in Hashem's unity. So even where such contact involves only its outer garments, it's something that is outer to him, namely idolatrous speech and action, without any faith whatsoever in the heart, in the validity of the idol worship, even this the soul dreads. And this dread represents the fear contained in the hidden love. When a Jew considers that he would willingly give up his life rather than be parted from God, he will surely realize that two things. A, he should certainly refrain from sin for the very same reason, since every sin tears one away from Hashem. And B, he ought to fulfill all the commandments, for through them one achieves the objective of his hidden love, unity with Hashem. In this way, one may utilize his hidden love and the fear of God contained in it as a motivation for observing all the commandments, as will be explained at length in the coming chapters. So the takeaway from today's Tanya: you have an inner core of your divine soul. You have an inner core of your divine soul, which despite all your experiences, always exist. Make that core your guiding force. I guess that's where the expression, listen to your guts. Go with your guts. Or be tuned to your...
What page now?
Page 165.
165.
So in the Pasha's Boy, in 165, there's a short vote on the Pasha. It says, "Vayemer Moshe b'noreinu v'zchineinu nelech, v'voneinu v'vneseinu, v'tzeineinu v'koreinu nelech ki chag havai lanu." So Paro said to Moshe, you said you're going to serve Hashem. Why are you schlepping the children, the women? Keep them here and go. So Moshe said, we need to go. I'm not compromising on any of them, and we are going with our animals. We are going with our children. We're going with our wives. We're not leaving anybody behind.
Did you tell them that we're not coming back?
No. He just says, Shlosh Shomim Melech Bamidbar. 3 days we're going. We're going for 3 days. There's a whole explanation why Moshe didn't tell him from the beginning.
We're not coming back.
We're living for good.
Yeah. But the guy was stupid. He said, you're going with the kids, with everything together. They should understand that they're going to stay.
Maybe that's why he didn't let them go so quickly.
Because
he did understand.
Okay.
How did they know that they're not coming back? The Midrash says that he sent, even Rashi tells it to us, they sent spies with them. He had spies that traveled with the Jews, and when they saw that they're not planning on coming back, they went, they reported to Paro, and he got his wagons and
chased them.
So Moshe mentioned our young people before our elders. Why did Moshe mention the pasuk b'noreinu v'zkeneinu nelech? He should have said first the older one and then the younger one. B'zkeneinu v'noreinu nelech. What does it mean? First we're going to go. Why are you mentioning the young before the old?
They're the future.
Moshe mentioned our young people before our elders in order to emphasize the primary importance of teaching the youth to develop their relationship with Hashem. Paro ridiculed this concern, insisting that only the adults need to be involved in religious observances. Yeah. He says, keep the adults busy with that. The young men, I need them for work. Let me
take care of them.
Shape their faith, shape their future. Let me take care of them. It's just a similar idea to why Paro wanted to keep the girls alive. He says, all the boys you should throw into the Nile. Why do you have to tell me the girls you should live alive? You should keep them alive. You already told me that you should kill the boys, so it's obvious that I shouldn't kill the girls. You never say anything about the girls. Why did he have to say the girls you should keep alive? Because the Rabbi said he was saying the girls, I want them to grow the way I want to bring them up my way. So Moshe was vindicated when later the Jewish children were the first to recognize Hashem. When the sea was split, they were the first one to see. They said, Ze keli vanveu. Their heightened spiritual sensitivity bore witness to the care that their parents invested in their religious education. So they were even more sensitive to godliness than the parents. Yeah, exactly. Just as the Jewish people's attention to the spiritual growth and development of their children led to the exodus from Mitzrayim, so it will be in our times. Our dedication to the spiritual growth and development of our children will hasten the final messianic redemption. So one of the ways to bring Mashiach, it says clearly, is to pay attention to the chinuch of the children. Education. Bruchim Tiyuv.